Entertainment, IP maximization, the $2.6 billion franchise blueprint for K-pop demon hunters. What is the IP lifecycle maximization trend? Sustaining value during production gaps. This trend mandates the expansion of successful streaming intellectual property, IP, like Netflix's most watched original title, K-pop Demon Hunters, into ancillary media and consumer products during long sequel production gaps. The core implication is that the real value of a franchise lies in its ability to generate sustained, non-theatrical revenue. The long wait problem. Despite its massive success and pop culture juggernaut status, the sequel, K-pop Demon Hunters 2, faces a challenging 4-year wait until 2029. This gap risks fandom fatigue and loss of cultural momentum. This problem is compounded by the original film's unique success trajectory. It was the most watched original in Netflix history, had a successful theatrical run after its streaming debut, and generated radio airplay for its songs. The Disney template, the Frozen model, the successful playbook for sustaining momentum, is the Disney Frozen model, which generated nearly $1.3 billion at the box office, but achieved massive profitability, estimated at $2.6 billion, primarily through non-film revenue. Frozen 2 also had a long 6-year gap, proving that continuous content is required to bridge the wait. The content gap solution. The strategy is to fill the 4-year hiatus with universe-expanding content that keeps the characters and world-building top of mind, maintaining the fandom's hunger. Insight. For major streaming hits, the sequel wait is a mandatory multi-billion-dollar monetization window that requires IP diversification. Why it is trending: content velocity and franchise economy. The IP maximization trend is necessary because consumer demand for content is immediate, content velocity, and the largest franchises derive their majority of profitability from consumer products and live events, not just screen time. The fandom hunger. The current rabid anticipation for K-pop Demon Hunters 2 must be immediately addressed, as consumer attention spans are short and demand is immediate. The long wait risks ceding the pop culture conversation to competitors who offer faster, continuous content drops. The merchandise engine. The franchise has already proven its consumer product potential with existing licensed items like Hunter/X shirts, tumblers, stickers, and books already available on platforms like Amazon. The successful high-volume soundtrack further demonstrates the cultural resonance and commercial viability of the IP. Proven template for success. Disney's experience with Frozen demonstrated that ancillary revenue streams like live shows, short films, and merchandise can easily eclipse box office totals, generating a total estimated value of $2.6 billion. The success of the Frozen model is a low-risk blueprint for Netflix to replicate with its own successful animated musical IP. Insight. The success of the film on screens is merely the advertisement for the true franchise value found in merchandise and spin-off content. Overview. The cross-platform revenue mandate. This section outlines the strategic imperatives for Netflix to transition K-pop Demon Hunters from a highly successful film into a fully leveraged, cross-platform franchise using Disney's playbook. The challenge for K-pop Demon Hunters is to replicate Disney's gargantuan profitability during its long production hiatus. The solution involves developing a strategic content pipeline across non-film platforms. The two most promising and proven avenues are live stage production and short-form storytelling. Disney leveraged Disney on Ice, Frozen, playing for 8 years, and theatrical short films like Frozen Fever and Olaf's Frozen Adventure. Netflix must adapt this model, exploring a high-production stage play, given the musical nature of the IP, and immediately commissioning universe-expanding short films to debut on the streaming platform or alongside Sony Pictures Animation's theatrical releases. This focus must be underpinned by a continued focus on world building, character development, and catchy/thoughtful lyrics to ensure the new content sustains the core appeal. Insight. To maximize the IP, Netflix must view itself as a live entertainment and merchandising company, not just a streaming platform. Detailed findings: the dual content pipeline, live shows, and short films. The analysis points to two specific, proven content streams necessary to monetize the 4-year gap and sustain the franchise's cultural impact. 1. Live stage production, the high-stakes avenue. The inherent musicality of K-pop Demon Hunters makes a stage play run a viable option, following the template of Disney on Ice. While potentially expensive due to the need for creative flourishes that retain the film's surplus of style, a successful play would provide a long-running, high-revenue, and non-cannibalizing avenue for fan engagement. The stage play acts as a continuous, premium experience that supplements the consumption of the film. 2. Short-form storytelling, the digital accelerator. Short films are identified as the most likely and most scalable avenue to satiate the fandom's hunger. These short films could either debut directly on Netflix, driving immediate incremental subscriber value, or follow the Disney playbook by preceding theatrical screenings of future Sony Pictures animation films, boosting theatrical tie-ins. The key is that these shorts must feel intentional and exist for a reason, contributing meaningfully to world building and character development. Alternative IP expansion, graphic novels. A less immediate but viable option is to expand the IP into graphic novels. This provides a continuous, lower-cost stream of content that satisfies the appetite for lore and character development, even though it sacrifices the earwig songs that made the film famous. Insight. The strategic balance requires balancing the high-cost, high-return live show with the agile, high-velocity short film production. Key success factors: credibility, quality, and content flow. The franchise's long-term success, according to the Frozen template, is not guaranteed by its initial hit status, but by the quality and purpose of its follow-up content. Intentional world building. All gap content, shorts, plays, books, must play as though they exist for a reason, maintaining a continued focus on world building, character development, and the core narrative. This ensures the new content is viewed as additive and valuable, not merely a cheap cash-in attempt. High-fidelity musical quality. Given the success of the soundtrack and the importance of earworm songs, the music in any derivative content must be the perfect combination of catchy and thoughtful. Maintaining this lyrical and musical standard is essential for sustaining the franchise's unique appeal. Platform agility. Netflix must be agile in how it deploys the short-form content, leveraging its own streaming platform for direct access while exploring theatrical placement via its production partner, Sony Pictures Animation. Insight. The quality of execution in the ancillary market determines whether an IP is a hit film or a long-running franchise. Key takeaway: the sequel gap is a content opportunity. The critical takeaway is that a multi-year sequel production gap must be viewed not as a liability, but as a mandatory, multi-channel content and merchandising opportunity that builds long-term IP resilience. Shifting investment focus. Investment must immediately shift from the sequel's production to gap-filling ancillary content that maintains cultural saturation and engagement. This protects the long-term equity of the K-pop Demon Hunters IP. Merchandising as the main event. The franchise's profitability is fundamentally tied to its merchandise, which requires continuous content flow to refresh consumer interest. The short films and stage plays serve as the commercials for the consumer products. The franchise velocity mandate. Netflix cannot afford to wait 6 years between major installments. It must adopt a continuous IP velocity model, using short-form narratives to sustain its pop culture juggernaut status. Insight. The success of Frozen proved that off-screen revenue is the highest yield of the franchise economy. Core consumer trend, fandom sustainment demand. Consumers who are deeply invested in an IP demand continuous, high-quality content flow, rejecting long periods of silence during production cycles. The fandom sustainment trend defines a segment that, having made a deep emotional investment, watching, streaming songs, buying merchandise, now expects the IP owner to reciprocate with continuous attention. They use platforms like short films and live shows to express and maintain their loyalty, especially when the main feature is years away. This trend is amplified by the immediacy of streaming culture. Insight. The core relationship is now a two-way contract. Fandom provides loyalty, IP owner provides content. Description of the trend. The diversified IP content